Michelle, how's it going, everyone?
How you doing?
Good. We are at our first ever live stream.
Great.
How's it going?
Good, good. How was your week?
It's been awesome. There we are. We're side by side. We've got Michelle over there. Wait, which way? Everything's backwards. Anyway, we got Michelle on my right, and I'm on your left.
Mm-hmm.
And this is our first ever live stream. This is super awesome.
Yeah.
And we're here to jam and just talk about hair and the journey. So, Michelle, tell us, where are you at right now?
In my journey? Or
Yeah,
in-
you tell us where. I saw a car go by you in the back. Where are you located?
So I'm in Maine. I'm in a little town called named Winslow, and so not very big at all. But I live on a relatively busy street during the day. Yeah.
And so, Michelle, tell me, how do you know? How did you find out about dimples?
Yeah. So I learned about dimples through the channel that most people do, or many people do, through Lacey Rodriguez, and I've been a long time follower of hers, and she spoke highly of the product and of the hair, and definitely raved about it. And so, when you were sending out messages, I was quick to reply. Yeah.
Awesome. And did you? I believe you did Lacey's course as well on top of
Yes,
it.
I did. I did. I took her toppers, and it's highly recommended, by the way, to anybody who's on the fence or just wants to learn more. I was well into my hair loss journey when that course, so I think I was in the first group of people who took that class, and she did such a good job with it. I mean, great job, Lacey. And but I really was looking forward to meeting other women who were experiencing the same thing who understood. There's so many layers to it, right? It's
Mm.
not just about the hair loss. It's like tiny little deaths, if you will. And so, yeah, so you have to learn how to navigate and take back your control. And I can't say enough about the course. It was great, and it was awesome to meet other women, albeit virtually, who were experiencing the same thing at different times. So, for sure.
So as you're telling me this, I'm like multitasking. I'm on my phone. I'm trying to see if this is actually working, because this is our first ever
Yeah.
multi-broadcast live, and
Yes.
I'm just trying to find us on YouTube. I'm like, is this actually working? I'd love to know.
I know. I would love to know too. And it's my first ever any of this kind of thing. So,
I think it is. I see something that says live on YouTube. I don't
Perfect.
know about if it's working on Instagram or Facebook, but let's just hope it is. And Rachel is our support. So, Rachel, just message me and let me know if it's all good. So, I love how we got some music in the background as well.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
awesome. And this is going to be recorded too. So if you missed this, we're going to send this out in an email blast. So make sure to follow us and join our email blast, because we're always giving out education and tips on hair care and also the journey. So anyway, I'm having to do something on Instagram while I'm talking to you to make this go live. The basis of this first ever live is really to tell you that we're going to be doing this more often. And we also wanted to test it as well, make sure all these new apps work.
Yeah.
And we also have Melissa as well. Michelle and Melissa are our new hair consultants.
Yeah.
I just put out a post that said, hey, does somebody want to be a hair consultant? We want to help people. We're here to ease a difficult journey. And so many people applied. And actually, Michelle, you're one of the first ones. And just, all right, let's try this out. Let's see what happens. And Michelle's been wonderful. She's also a hairstylist too.
Right.
So Michelle's got loads of experience, and we offer free consultations. So if you want to learn about the journey and want to talk to somebody, Michelle, all the way in Maine, is here to help. And we can drop Michelle's information. I'm going to just say, please drop Michelle information. You can text or email or call or book a video consultation with Michelle. And yeah, we're really here to ease a difficult journey, because based on interviewing people on our show Beyond the Head Start, and just being in this industry for many years myself, it's a journey. It's certainly a journey. And
if you live in a rural area, it's, you really have to find things like this that help guide you and help teach you step by step what to do, and stylists that know how to work with hair, because some stylists are afraid of it. They know you've paid money for it, and they know it's not going to grow back, so they're a little bit nervous about touching it. But when you do find a stylist that knows what they're doing, they're worth their weight in gold for sure.
So I'm going to ask you a little bit to expand on that, Michelle. I just make sure that we're on Instagram. For some reason, I'm the only one with access. but
All right.
But tell us about your styling journey, because one of the biggest pain points I'm always hearing from consumers is, I took my topper to my stylist, like barbershop, like colorist, haircut stylist, and they killed my topper. They cut it too short. They were too afraid to work on my topper. They've that's part of the journey. So tell us a little bit about your experience. Oh, look, like Michelle's contact details are right there.
Yes, right there.
Awesome. So tell us, Michelle, your journey of discovering the specialist type of stylist that work with toppers and wigs, and why it's important to go to specialist style, and how few there are, and then tell us about you becoming a stylist.
Sure. So happy to share that. So my hair loss journey goes back to high school, on and off hair loss, and I've never really gotten to the bottom of it. I suspect it's thyroid related, autoimmune related, but regardless, it's intermittent. And so I sometimes would have a pretty good head of hair, but always right in the front, it was pretty thin. And sure enough, when I was about 14 years ago, I was just getting ready to go to hair school. Ironically enough, getting ready to go to hair school. I had been laid off from my social worker job, and I thought, well, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. And so, and before I got to school, I ended up in a full wig, and it was a pretty good one. I was pretty lucky. I picked it up off eBay, and I figured I got a stylist to cut it for me, but it really was tricky because everybody was afraid to touch it. But ended up only being in that for a short period of time. My hair started to come back in, but I found a lot of support from people. But I had to come clean at hair school, because when you do sink work, you have to wash each other's hair. So I didn't. That was a pretty interesting time. So I was outed that way, and but I found a lot of freedom in telling people and sharing it with people, because I was more comfortable changing things up and doing different things, and I didn't have to worry. It wasn't a secret anymore. It was like, this is the deal. And I don't know why I get it, because I've been there, but when you think about it, like, what's the shame in it? It's not something I did to myself, and it was a whole thing. But prior to one of the periods of hair loss that I did experience, I wanted to touch on the topper being ruined. My husband had driven me to an appointment in Boston. We had found a place that sold toppers, and it just happened to be a snowstorm. It was a whole thing, and I didn't want to miss the appointment. We get to the appointment, and I can tell she doesn't know a lot about them either. And so she doesn't want to cut it. She wants to sell me the topper, but she doesn't want to cut it. So I get the topper. I'm very excited about it. Now, in hindsight, I know, because of my experience, it was way too heavy for me. The density was way too much. It caused some traction alopecia. But when I got it to my stylist here, he took the thinning shears to it and went way too high. Went way too high. So it has been, James isn't kidding. People have 100 of these stories. If you have hair loss and you haven't been fortunate enough to bump into a Lacey or a Dimples consultant and get some education, you might run into that, because he did the best he could, but it was ruined. It was this whole thing. So anyway, so that's part of my journey. Yeah.
So I'm literally trying to fix Instagram so we can be live on Instagram while you're talking. So you see my head going like this.
I get it.
I'm listening.
Yes, I know.
So I'm still trying to fix the Instagram thing on my multiple screens here.
But
yeah, what you're saying is so true, and the education for cutting and styling and washing and coloring toppers is totally different than the education for coloring, styling, cutting bio hair, because the hair on a topper is dead.
Yes.
The hair on a wig is dead. It's come from someone's head, and it's knotted in, and it's a multitude of ponytails from different people's heads.
Yes.
And then it's processed and cleaned, hackled, all the stages. You can YouTube it. And then it's put together and knotted in either on wefts or knotted as a hand-tied topper wig. Right. So it really takes almost like a biologist, do like little tests. Always do test strands. You can't just color it. And then also, if you've got your bio hair colored multiple times, that also is going to feel different. It's just a real art, and the hair's not going to grow back.
Yeah.
So we've got you. We're focusing on you now, Melissa, for a few minutes until I fix the Instagram.
No, that's great.
But yeah, the education is massive for toppers, wigs, and it's necessary. And the wonderful thing is that the few people around the USA and North America and around the world who are educated, they always want to learn more. It's fantastic. So tell us about how you got into learning how to color and cut toppers and wigs, and some of your follies and experiences, and that you got to play around with.
Yeah, there's been a few. So some of my experiences between coloring a wig that came in darker than I wanted and actually lightening it, and having some success, but being extremely careful. But of course it was dry. That what James is saying is true. So the golden rule is start lighter and go darker. Don't buy a dark wig and think that you're going to run bleach through it, or a topper. It's just a bad decision. So I've done that. And I've learned the hard way. You know what I did one time? Speaking of follies, one of the worst things I did was I tried to bleach my own knots. I had purchased a topper it was an integration topper. And so some people out there probably know what I'm talking about. It actually has almost like a little waffle pattern in it, almost like a fishnet. And then it had a lace in the front. And I had wanted the knots bleached. And, I watched online and everybody had their knots bleached, and that's the way you want it. And when I had the topper colored, this is before I went to hair school. Now, when I had the topper colored, the person didn't avoid the knots, and so they recolored them. And I thought, well, I can bleach them. but they had already been bleached. So it was a bad decision. Then I ended up with a topper with recession that looked a lot like my own. So it really, it really didn't.
Okay,
really,
that's a super advanced, amazing thing. What you said that you bleached your knots, and then
yeah,
you found that it looked like you had recession.
yes,
Okay. So is that because when you bleach the knots at the base of the head, that
the
it
hair broke
looked
off.
like the hair was breaking, or was it?
It burnt right off.
Okay.
It
So
felt, because what happened was it had already been bleached, and when the colorist colored it, she re-dyed the knots, and I wasn't experienced in that. And so, not knowing, I'm like, oh, well, I can just lighten them. Well, the hair was very angry, and it just broke off. So it was, yeah, it just was not good. And that was a painful and very expensive lesson. Yeah, very expensive lesson. But I've also had really cool experiences too. So I've purchased hair in the past that was a little bit darker, and then then I wanted, and I did some test strands, and I was able to do some lovely coloring techniques with it, or try some like balayage with that. But I don't recommend that to just anybody at home. Like, it's so important you're careful. I have had some really cool experiences, and I've done some neat things. So and been really happy with the way that hair has come out. And I wear full wigs as well as toppers of all kinds. But when we were talking about recession, that's where my hair loss is mostly in the front. So I don't really have an intact hairline. So, and if this wasn't glued down, I would take it off and show it right now. But right here in the front, I don't really have a wide area where I can attach it. That's where the hair comes in really handy, because I'm able to, I still wear a little wig grip underneath, but I'm able to use just a tiny bit of glue and keep it on with the lace front. So it works out great that way.
awesome. So we are on Instagram Live. Thank goodness we made it.
We did. We made it.
Joined, you could see my head turning like this. I was looking at my other screens trying to get us going.
Yeah.
So we're just having a candid chat right now about the hair loss journey and solutions. And we're going to be doing this. We hope to do this once a week and have more guests as well. And maybe 3 of us will be on. Melissa will join us as well. Mm-hmm. Rachel, maybe you too, if you want. Rachel's our support right now. And we've got Star as well. We've got a load of people that can join and really help share about the journey and answer questions. Mm-hmm. You may have some questions about, how to find the right topper, how to wear it. And one of the things that we really want to help is to help consumers not have to purchase 9 toppers in a year to find the one. Mm-hmm. I'm still trying to find the magic number, but in the stories I hear, I'm hearing a lot of, I bought 8 toppers until I found the right one.
Yeah.
So it's super important to, not spend too much money and with trial and error on purchasing the topper and then also getting it styled. So so Michelle, you wear toppers and wigs.
Yeah.
And you've really styled that really beautifully. I love the little swoosh. And you're wearing glasses too. And I heard you say this to somebody about wearing glasses with hair. Is there a specific technique or any tips you can give?
Yeah. So this is a topper. So I'm backwards on here, so it's a little tricky. So that's my hair underneath right here. So with the topper, especially this one, it's not too big, and it stops right about here. So I have plenty of room for my glasses. And in the summertime, it's not overly warm. With a wig, so I really haven't had a lot of troubles with the wigs that I've had with the glasses. except for when I tried wearing synthetic wigs, the ones that I had attempted to wear were uncomfortable, the cap size. So I have a smaller head. And so a lot of the standard size wigs that I was getting were just too big this way. So they would touch the top of my ears. So the important thing is if you wear glasses, make sure you do the measurement, right? So you want to do you want to make sure that you do the circumference, but you also want to make sure you're measuring from ear to ear. And the way that our wigs, and I measured, so the way that our wigs are measured, it appears that we measure right into the, or right to the top of the ear, based on when I tried our wigs on and then measured it. I was like, I have plenty of room. And I'm considered a small. So, yep, I have plenty.
So we really talked about some very advanced topics, especially the bleaching of knots.
Yeah, don't do that, you guys. Don't do that at home.
Don't do that, you guys, Michelle said. So I get asked that a lot, and consumers, wholesalers have said, why don't you bleach your knots? I can see the knots at the parting area, on the lace front, on the mono area. Yeah. And really that's because I don't want the hair to break or fall out. You know, we want to try and have the wigs and toppers last as long as they can. You can go somewhere and there are people that can bleach them. I think our Deborah can bleach them, who's our stylist. You can book a consult to get a styling consult, but it's not going to last as long. It's a very delicate job. I think it's a lot better to dab some color wow, and there's specialist makeup that we can recommend. We can even recommend the makeup color of color wow for the actual Dimples hair wig. We have a list somewhere. If you're wearing a 7N 10GR, use this color of color wow. You know, we've got this. We gotta find that list and post it somewhere. We may have made an Instagram post on that, but that's very information. So yeah, the bleaching knots, it looks great, but it may not last as long because, you know, we're using Chinese and Indian hair where it starts from a very, 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 very dark black, darker than my hair, and then we're taking it up to like the color that the color that Michelle is wearing right now. So that's a lot of processing. So if we're gonna also bleach those knots too, wow, it's gonna be super dry,
and you risk giving yourself what's called in a hairdresser would call it a hot root.
Yes.
So I'm sure you've seen things come back that way over the years, and so because your bleach isn't touching the other side, and I don't want to get into it too much, I really discourage you guys from doing it. Have a professional do it if you choose to go that way. Just know that your wig or your topper probably isn't going to last as long. The hair there probably won't last as long. But the hot root, what that is that it even though it might not be touching the other hair, it actually starts to bleach it out. It's almost like the fumes are lightening it, so gets kind of orangey. Gets kind of orange, and then you're faced with a whole different issue. So then you have to re-dye and you have to stay off the knot. It's a thing.
Michelle, I want to be courteous of your time. How much time do we have with you? Do we have 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or a bit longer? We can keep talking.
So we have a few minutes. We have a few minutes to keep going. I have a 5 o'clock consultation.
Oh wow, cool. So 5 o'clock. You're on East Coast. It's 1:25. What? 5 minutes or 10 minutes?
Yeah, so I can get ready for that. That would be fine. So right now it's about 4:25 right now.
So what's our cutoff? 5 minutes? 10?
Depending on what you want to talk about. So yeah, as long as I'm off by quarter of, I'm good.
Okay, quarter off. Okay, got it. I'm just curious. When you're out and about, because you color and you have the eye for color, and you can see the greens and you can see the pinks and the oranges and certain shades that I actually don't even see. You know, I speak to colorists and they'll say, that root looks green. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know? So when you see women out in public,
yeah,
are you like a musician, like hearing all of like the different parts of the song, like do you see that hair coloring job, and do you what I want to say is, do you judge? You're like, oh my god, that's a bad one.
Well, I'd be lying if I said I did. If I said no, I don't do that, because yes, and all hairstylists do that, and I'm sure musicians who hear bad music do that. The worst one is the blonde, blorange. We call it blorange. Blorange. So it's blonde, they attempted to be blonde, but it's orange. So it's kind of, and some of the ladies out there know what I'm talking about, when you're in high school and you try sunning in your hair and it kind of does that. We've all had that. It's when you didn't leave the bleach on long enough to lift all the way. Or if you tried to lift box dye off and you used, all those things can do it. It really makes, a lot of times it's kids you see like that have experimented. So yes, I do secretly judge it, but I will say this. I want to fix it for them.
Right.
I want to fix it. That's mostly it. I'm like, oh, you need to be toned so bad. Can we just throw some toner on and fix it? Yeah.
I want to comment on that one too as well, and then also about seeing somebody in public who's wearing hair that we shouldn't really know that they're wearing hair. I want to come back to that one. I had an experience recently, but I found myself I'm always looking at hair color, and if it's good, I'm like, that's amazing, or that looks like it's naturally from the sun. And I was in an auditorium at a theater, and I was the furthest seat at the back, and it was a small theater, and every seat was filled, and the lights went on, and I got to see everyone's hair color. And I'm in Los Angeles, California, and it was in the valley, right? Not to say there's anything about the valley, but this is where I was. I was over the hill, over that hill over there, and I just saw so many bad hair coloring jobs, and I was like, oh my god, like, did they do it themselves? It was all one color, no dimension, and just too much of one color. Like,
was that right after COVID or recent?
No, it was like recent. It was like 2 weeks ago, I think. And then I was and I think it was really from then I really started noticing everyone's hair. Like, after I was like not present in the theater, I was like looking at everyone's hair from the back of their heads. And there was a guy too that colored it, looked like he colored his own hair too. And then I was in Utah. Sorry, Lacey, I didn't come to see you. I was on a family trip. I was in Utah, and we were staying in a nice hotel, and I saw a lady, and I said to my wife, I'm like, it's like too much of one color, and my wife's like, no, that's a look, like some women want that.
Yeah.
She's probably from XYZ states, right? I'm not going to say that a lot of women have that look in that state. And is it a look, like, just to have one color? I mean, she is a blonde. She looked like she was a natural blonde, but it would look more blonde.
Like monotone. Yeah, I actually had somebody say something to me when we were visiting. We were in Arizona once, and
Arizona. I didn't say it, but Arizona. That was.
And we were visiting, and I actually was not wearing hair at the time. I had a pixie, and so my roots were darker, but I was blonde on the top, and similar color that I have going on now. And someone made a comment about when I said that I was from the East Coast. They said that explains the multicolored hair.
Right.
So it really, I think, has a lot to do with where you live. You get used to something being the norm, right?
Yeah.
So, and my mother would never have worn a root, She would have been like, why would you purposely do that? But it's a thing now, and you balayage it, and it's customer friendly. They don't have to be in there it's all the stuff. So women appreciate it, and hairstylists like it as well. It's less tedious than foiling, etc. There's a whole thing about it. But yeah, I like the look, but there's an older generation sometimes that doesn't appreciate that look. I shouldn't say that though, because have a lot of hip older friends that like it. So
I really secretly want to compliment when I see a woman with a really good coloring job. I want to be like, wow, that is, but it's not appropriate, it's, I don't want to seem
who
like,
did that? They did such a good job. The dimension in your hair. Yeah. I mean, I guess if it depends, like if you're at a cocktail party and you're talking, and that's different. But yeah, just approaching her at the local store. I think you're stalking her.
Yeah, I saw a woman in the airport. Her hair was so, and I was like carrying our baby, and I just wanted to say, what a beautiful job,
Yeah.
So then, on the other hand, what about? Do you ever see anyone in public who is wearing hair, and have you ever gone up to them and said anything, or like?
Yeah, I've never anybody that I wasn't. I think I actually, and Lacey, if you end up listening to this, this is so weird. I believe I was sat next to a woman that was in my the class with Lacey. I believe she sat next to me at a restaurant, like the next table over, and her hair was great, but I knew because, and you've said this before in other podcasts, I think, James, that when you look for certain things. It doesn't mean it's bad. You just recognize it. But I did work with a lady one time who needed some assistance with that, but she didn't want it. And so I just kind of dropped a hint that I was happy to help, but nicely, but that wasn't for her. And I left it alone. So
the age-old saying is nice wig. That's like, you don't want that compliment, right?
No, not unless, and all my friends know it's a whole thing. I mean, they all know, and they ask me they have so many questions, women who need hair or secretly wish they had hair, and then women who don't, but just think how much fun it is. And so I get so many questions, and I love that my friends can just ask me about it. And they have no problem saying to me, oh, I love this one. Ooh, that, right? And some like, that last one you had, not so much, but this one, they're good girlfriends like that. They're not being snarky, they're just being honest. And I love that. Yeah.
It's almost like it's scary. It's often scary to ask questions, right? Like, do I want to put myself out there? As I've heard from talking to many consumers and salons, do I want to you're putting yourself out there. You're telling people you're wearing hair. You are on a stage of, let's say, the journey that you're like, I'm going to show it. I'm going to, I'll talk about wigs, wearing wigs and all that. But there are many, many people out there who don't want to go public, obviously, don't want their friends to know, don't want their partners to know. I've spoken to lots of people who sleep with their hair.
Wow.
And they wake up early. There's a whole routine, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just no. There's nothing wrong with that, and there's just so many levels in there.
Yeah.
And it's just. But we're here to help. If anybody wants to talk privately, one-on-one. We're here to answer questions during these talks as well.
Yes.
That's what we're here for. We're here to ease a difficult journey.
And it wasn't all that long ago. I just want to put this out for people. So I was working in a salon, and very close with the girls that I worked with. I love that group of girls. And a big bunch of them moved on to open a new salon, and it's very intimate. The salon is set up almost like a horseshoe, and so customers are facing one another while the stylist is behind them, and it's just so, knowing that I needed to go back into hair at one point as far as wearing hair again, and a lot of my old customers were there, I was right there. I was like, no, I need some privacy. I'm not ready to have that conversation with everybody. And they were younger stylists who kept telling me, oh, it's not that noticeable. And when you start getting older, of a certain age, I'll say it that way, you start to feel a little bit invisible. And so while these younger ladies who I love meant well, they were not being honest with me, because I had friends that in the industry that were like, hey, girlfriend, you need some help. Not quite like that, but they were honest. And that's what I felt that I needed. So I do totally understand people wanting privacy. It wasn't all that long ago that even though people knew I was wearing hair, I wasn't ready to rip my wig off at a salon. So I get it. Yeah, I get it.
So yeah, there aren't that many specialist salons that can cut and color. I often hear consumers having to drive 4 hours, 5 hours. I even heard of a consumer who I'm going to talk to very soon. She's awesome. She said that she's going to fly to a different state and then get her hair colored and cut in the airport bathroom. I was like, wow, I've never heard of that one. That is really original. And then fly back the same day. So, there isn't, a local place to just drive to that's close. It's a real thing to go to a place. And whenever I talk to a consumer, we have web forms, and I think one of the questions is, do you have a topper wig stylist? And that's a biggie. We have recently added it to our website, which I'm so proud of, that you can book with Deborah. And pretty much all of the money goes to Deborah, our stylist, because it's a big job to do, cutting and coloring, and it's remarkable how many options are on the site. I was like, Deborah, are you sure you want to offer all these things? Like, this is a lot. She's like, yeah, these are all easy. And we have Deborah because she's worked with our Dimples Toppers for years. And Deborah is the woman in all our videos. Like, she's been in some videos soon again. We're going to do some more content with her. So we have that option. But if you have someone locally, go to them locally and do what you do. We're always trying to make it easier and help out in any way we can. So we've been talking for 37 minutes now, for those of you who've logged in. And Rachel, if you're there, if you can pop up Michelle's information. Michelle is one of our consultants. Michelle has a full-time job. Tell us what you do, Michelle.
So when I'm not doing this?
Yes.
Right now. Okay. So I'm for 5 more weeks. I work for a nonprofit. The name of it's Goodwill Hinckley, and we help children and families, children with social, emotional, behavioral problems, and we help their families get the help they need so they can get back home and integrate back into the real world, right? So, but pretty soon, my husband runs the organization, and so I'm stepping away from my database duties. I run the electronic. It's very different from doing hair, but many hairdressers out there will know you don't have insurance when you're behind the chair always. So that was why I went back to that kind of work. And now I love that I'm able to do something related to hair and help other women and seriously ease the difficult journey, because if I can save somebody some time and some money finding the hair that works for them, then seriously, I'm happy to do that.
Awesome. So this is like a totally new journey for Dimples. Dimples has been around since 1968. My dad started this business when he met a woman with dimples, believe it or not. And we're just trying to make it simple and easy. And the whole virtual thing, it's incredible. Thank you, COVID. Thank you, COVID, for excelling us into the far future and everybody being able to do video chats. So what if somebody was to book a free consultation with you, Michelle? What could they expect to happen?
Yeah. Okay. So first, if we book a video chat, we would talk a little bit about what it was that they were looking for. I would definitely listen to what their journey's been like, because maybe they've been in hair before. Maybe they're looking for their first topper. Most of us just want to feel like ourselves, right? We just want to feel the way we did before the hair started falling out or changing. But some of us are like, yeah, my hair was never great anyway. But so what you can expect is we're going to talk about what you think you might be looking for in the color, the cut, and talk about where your hair loss is at, because depending on what that looks like, I could recommend the type of hair you might be looking for, whether it be a wig or a lace front or a topper. So it all depends on where you're at. But yeah, there's a lot of talking that goes on because there's a lot of back and forth so we can figure out what the best fit. Because like James says, it's like we don't want somebody to have hair that they don't need. We want you to have something that you're comfortable in, and that, so we're not going to sell you a topper that's this big when you just needed a wee thing.
Yeah, it really helps to be on video, and also to send inspiration pictures too. Like, I want to look like this, right? And the toughest thing by far is to get the color correct,
Right.
over video, over pictures, and even in person. And if there's any type of hair color that has it the hardest, Michelle, what would you say that would be?
Blonde. Blonde can be difficult at times, but it can also be, blonde can be difficult because of so many different shades, right? So if you want dimension in that, and so you'll hear people say, well, that's too yellow, or that's too, most of the time they mean it's too warm, or that's way too platinum, that's way too light. So I think the focus for them needs to be that if that's the issue, or if that the concern, the cool thing is that we have a lot of blondes to choose from. And so you have to think about it like a place to start. That's where we're going to start, and think about all the dimension we can put in there. So we have those customization services available to us, and or if you have a stylist that you trust, I think that it doesn't have to be the most difficult, but sometimes it's getting people past the part. It's not about, I don't think it's that it's difficult for the hairdresser. I think it's difficult for the client oftentimes to get past the fact that the starting palette isn't perfect. They don't understand, like, we can tone that out. Don't you worry if that's too quote unquote yellow. It's not going to stay like that. Yeah. What do you find, James? What do you think is the most challenging?
Blondes.
Yeah.
Blondes, and I say blondes don't have more fun with toppers, but they can if they're patient, because
Right.
the color tones are so far, vast with blondes. Like, brunettes have it easier. A lot of times, brunettes, the darker you are, the easier it is. Like, to get away, especially if you're wearing a large topper, you can almost easily blend in your bio hair without doing coloring. Like, if the top is a little bit lighter than your bio hair, is that how it goes?
Yeah.
For it to be a little bit lighter than your bio hair, that naturally the under bio hair usually is darker, right?
Yes. Like, look, this is, and I did not touch the color on this. This is a honey bun, and I'm a brunette. But I love being blonde. So, but this is, I know my camera is terrible, James, but this is my bio hair. You can see how dark that is.
Yeah.
And I do color my roots, but this is, so you can see, the other thing is that it's so fine right now that I can get away with, like, it's about 2 inches longer than my hair, but it blends in pretty well. But with this dark root, it's so forgiving because it kind of matches what I have underneath. And so it's natural. So you can go several shades lighter if you're comfortable with the root, because it matches. It ends up tying all together and looking pretty natural. So, and nobody has ever said to me, and I have friends that would do it, but nobody has ever said to me, oh, okay, that one, no, that doesn't hit the mark. I mean, they might say it to me after the fact, but anyway, it's not, you do not have to be perfect. Now, a time when you do need to work with a stylist and make sure the color is correct is when you are using a smaller piece and you're blending it into hair and it's not coming all the way down and covering your hair. Then you absolutely want to work with a stylist and make sure that the color's on point. Yeah.
Brilliant. And I gotta say, Michelle is superb at styling. This topper is not how it looks when it comes out the bag like this. Michelle has put some love into it. Quickly tell us before we go, I know you got a consult coming up.
Sure.
What did you do to this topper to make it look like that? And what did it look like out the bag? And what did you do to it?
Okay, so James, it looks like a pancake. You know that. It looks like a pancake when it comes out of the bag. So, ladies, if you've ordered a topper before, you know that that's oftentimes it has the factory all over it, and you need to clean it and make sure that you need to wash it, give it a good wash. And what I did to this topper is I trimmed it. I gave it a little bit of face framing. I gave a little bit of face framing and gave it a good blowout. But if you're going to do that, make sure you take a lot of the water out in advance. You don't want it to be sopping wet and you're pulling on it. So I pinned it down on my cork head, and then I gave it a nice blowout and used a large curling iron, obviously some heat protectant, and a large curling iron, and put some curls in it, and then just used a wide comb and brushed it out. So, and I'm not oversimplifying it. That did not take me 15 minutes because, you know, I had to decide how I wanted it cut and all of that stuff. So it took me just a little bit to do, but that's what the style is. So, and I like, one of the things I love about this topper is the generous parting space on the top. So it's, I can't remember off the top of my head, it's just not as narrow as most. So it comes all the way here to the top. So I actually can do a side part, which is my usual thing. I rarely go center. So I love being able to have that option.
And then you could also change the parting to the other side or do it a little bit more. And that will definitely help with the longevity of a hand-tied topper or hand-tied part. If you keep it in the same area, you might start to have a little bit hair loss there eventually. So it's good to have as much hand-tied as possible on toppers and wigs, and that's what we try to do. We give as much hand-tied area as possible. So that, and also that color, honey bun, and you're also wearing the Athena topper.
Yes.
It looks very ashy and very cool on my screen, but it is not. You look like you're wearing the next color up, which is 7N10GR. Why am I forgetting the color? Creme brulee rooted. Yeah. Which is gorgeous, gorgeous color. But you look like you're wearing the creme brulee rooted.
It does.
Wearing the honey bun on this TV on my screen for some reason.
I'm getting a better camera eventually. Yeah.
Either way, it looks great. It looks great on you, and that's so cool that you're able to wear, and you got to pick whichever color you wanted.
Yes.
And you picked a blonde, even though you're a brunette.
Yeah.
And you've styled it with a nice wavy swoosh. Yeah. And just as we're gonna close this live now, please let us know if there's anything else you want to hear in a live. There's just toppers and wigs. It's so complex. There's so much to talk about. So, but if you have questions, we'd love to answer. And Michelle will be back. We're going to have Melissa too. If you follow us on Instagram, you're going to see Melissa. What a character! She's got some great posts she does.
She's great.
She's I'm just going to say this. I think I can. I'm okay saying this, but she's a hair junkie. She has a closet full of wigs and toppers. Yeah. She's tried every single brand. So before I go, I just want you to all be aware we have three types of free consultations. Yeah. One is, and Rachel, if you could put Michelle's information up, that'd be great. One of the consultations is you're new to hair or old to hair, you're a pro, you need help picking your topper. Michelle is there to help you with that one. The second type of consultation is you purchase your Dimples hair and you want to do what Michelle's done to her hair. You want to make it look wearable and good, not like a pancake. So Michelle can meet you there.
Yes.
And unpancake that topper and make it look beautiful. And you do not wear it out the bag, out the box. Whatever you do, they do not come styled. So once you're sure you want to keep it, Michelle can help you on a consultation on getting it beautiful and ready to wear. And then consultation number 3 right now is with Deborah, and that is if you want to custom color, cut, you
Yes.
you don't want to drive 3,000 miles to the closest topper wig specialist. You just cannot. You want to do it virtually, we got you. So book consultation 3 with Deborah, and she'll get it customized. It is an extra fee for certain things to do, but it's well worth it, and you can do
So
your
reasonable.
it's so simple. And guess what? You can do all of your consults wearing your slippers. Okay.
Yes, you can. Yes. So yeah, I look forward to catching up with some of you for sure. Reach out. I'm happy to help. And it's certainly low pressure for sure, where we understand what's going on and we really do sincerely want to help.
Thank you. And thank you all. Thank you, Michelle, for breaking out of your full-time job to be here with us to help. And Michelle she just wants to help. It's so great. So I was like, Michelle, you got to work with us. We're going to find a way to work together. We're going to have this recorded, so please subscribe to our email blasts. You'll get this recording and also a whole blog if you want to go and see anything you've missed. And you have Michelle's details, and if you want to contact her. Thank you so much. See you
Looking
the next
forward to meeting you guys.
That was
Thanks, James. See you soon.
Bye.